The sun rose slowly over the endless golden dunes of Elisara 7, casting long shadows that danced across the desert. The planet was quiet, almost eerily so, except for the low hum of the exploration rover moving steadily across the sand. A group of humans, dressed in light protective suits, stepped carefully from their transport. Their boots sank slightly into the warm sand, leaving temporary prints that would soon disappear under the shifting winds. Amir, the team's lead archaeologist, paused for a moment to admire the vast emptiness. His eyes narrowed as he studied a slight rise in the sand ahead. "That's not natural," he said. The team gathered around, excitement replacing the fatigue from their long journey. After months of scanning the desert with satellites, they had finally found a structure that hinted at intelligent life, long lost and hidden beneath the sand. Soren, the technician, knelt to inspect the surface. "It's like the sand has been pushed aside," he said. "Someone or something buried this intentionally." He brushed his fingers across the grains, revealing the tip of a strange metallic edge. The metal was unlike anything they had seen before. Smooth and warm, it glimmered faintly in the morning light. The team carefully dug around the edges, uncovering more of the structure. It appeared to be a tomb, massive and angular, rising from the desert like a sleeping giant. The walls were covered in strange symbols that shimmered faintly, catching the light in a way that made them seem almost alive. Amir ran his hand along the surface, feeling the strange grooves and markings. "These are not just decorations," he whispered. "They are a language. Something ancient and powerful." A soft breeze stirred the sand around them, but the desert remained otherwise still. It felt as if the tomb itself was holding its breath, waiting. The team exchanged glances, a mix of awe and unease passing among them. They had trained for many scenarios, but nothing could have prepared them for the weight of discovering something so old and untouched. Amir stepped closer to the entrance. The doorway was massive, almost 10 meters high, and framed by intricately carved patterns. The carvings depicted creatures and humans in strange poses, holding objects that glowed with faint energy. "It looks like a story," said Myra, the historian. "A story from a civilization we do not yet understand." She traced the lines with her gloved fingers, fascinated by the symbol's strange fluidity. Suddenly, a faint glow pulsed from the doorway, as if the tomb had recognized their presence. Amir's heart quickened. "Everyone, stay calm," he said, though his own voice shook slightly. He activated his scanner, sending waves of light over the carvings. The scanner beeped, then displayed a pattern of energy unlike anything in the database. "This structure, it's not just old," he said. "It's alive in a way. It reacts to us." Soren adjusted the rover's lights to shine inside the entrance. The chamber beyond was enormous, stretching far into darkness. Shadows of tall statues flickered on the walls as the light moved. The statues looked human, but their faces were serene, almost divine. Their eyes, made of a strange crystal, seemed to watch the humans, following each movement. Myra swallowed hard. "I have read about tombs like this in old records, but those were stories. Legends. This is real." Her voice was quiet, but full of awe. She stepped carefully inside, keeping her hands near the walls for balance. The air inside was surprisingly warm and dry. There was a faint hum, almost musical, as if the tomb itself had a heartbeat. Amir followed, scanning the walls with a portable device. The hieroglyphs shifted slightly, though he could not tell if it was the angle of light or something more mysterious. "Look at this," he said. "They move when we look away. It is like the tomb is aware." The team froze, staring at the symbols as they shimmered, tiny sparks of energy rising like fireflies. Suddenly, the ground trembled slightly under their feet. Dust fell from the ceiling. Soren steadied himself against a column. "We need to be careful," he warned. "Whatever built this tomb, it left defenses." I do not know if they are mechanical or something else entirely. Despite the tension, human curiosity pushed them forward. They had traveled across the galaxy to find the unknown, and they would not turn back at the first sign of danger. Amir led the team deeper into the chamber, feeling a mixture of fear and exhilaration. Each step brought new carvings, new symbols, and new whispers of a civilization lost to time. At the center of the room, they found a raised platform, polished and untouched. On it lay a sarcophagus, larger than any human had ever built. Its surface gleamed faintly, reflecting the light from their tools. Amir approached slowly, unable to hide the awe in his eyes. "This is it," he whispered. "The heart of the tomb. The pharaoh waits inside." The team circled the sarcophagus, careful not to touch it yet. The symbols around the room pulsed gently, almost as if breathing. The hum grew louder, a steady vibration that resonated through their bodies. Amir could feel it in his chest. "We have awakened something," he said softly. "I am not sure what, but it is aware of us." For the first time, the humans realized that they were not just explorers. They were intruders in a place that had been untouched for centuries. And as they stared at the sarcophagus, a feeling settled over them that this discovery would change everything they knew about life, history, and humanity itself. The air in the tomb felt heavier than before, as if the silence itself had weight. Amir and his team stood around the sarcophagus, unsure who should open it first. Myra's hands trembled slightly as she reached out, but Amir stopped her. "We need to understand what we are dealing with," he said. "Rushing in could trigger something we cannot control." Sarin knelt beside the sarcophagus and scanned its surface. His device beeped rapidly. "There is energy inside," he said. "It is ancient, but it is not dead. Something is, waiting." He looked up at the team, worry in his eyes. "We should proceed carefully." Amir nodded. He had studied countless ancient civilizations, but he had never seen a structure respond like this. Every symbol on the walls shimmered softly as if breathing. He moved closer, running his fingers along the carvings. Suddenly, a faint glow spread across the sarcophagus. The hum grew louder, filling the chamber. The light pooled at the edges of the lid, and the air seemed to vibrate with it. Then a voice spoke. It was low and calm, yet carried authority that filled the room. "Who dares enter my tomb?" The humans froze. The voice did not come from any speaker or device. It seemed to echo from the walls, the floor, and the very air around them. Myra whispered, "It is, the Pharaoh." Amir took a deep breath. "We are explorers," he said. "We mean no harm. We seek knowledge of your people." The voice paused. The hum softened for a moment. "Knowledge is precious," it said. "It must be earned. Are you ready for the trial?" The humans exchanged worried glances. Trials were not part of any protocol. They had trained for hazards and traps, but nothing like this. Amir stepped forward with cautious confidence. "We are ready," he said. "We will face what comes with respect and intelligence." Suddenly, the ground beneath them shifted. The walls of the chamber seemed to move, stretching taller and twisting slightly. Light streaked along the hieroglyphs, revealing images of humans and alien creatures struggling against unknown forces. Sarin watched the readings on his device and shook his head. "This is not mechanical," he said. "It is like the tomb itself is alive." The sarcophagus lid began to rise slowly. Inside, a holographic figure appeared. It was the pharaoh, tall and regal, with eyes that glowed like molten gold. His robes seemed to flow as if in a wind, though no air moved. The humans stepped back, but Amir held his ground. He could feel the intelligence radiating from the figure. "I am Pharaoh Neferon," the figure said. "I ruled long before your kind walked among the stars. My tomb is a test of courage, wisdom, and heart. Many have failed. Will you succeed?" Myra's voice was barely audible. It is like he is alive, she whispered. The pharaoh's gaze seemed to pass through her, studying every thought. Amir understood then that this was no ordinary hologram. It was a record of knowledge and power, preserved to challenge any who dared enter. The walls around them shimmered and shifted again. Patterns formed, showing trials of logic, strength, and compassion. To prove your worth, the pharaoh said, you must navigate the path without giving in to fear or greed. Only then will the secrets of my people be yours. The first trial began immediately. The floor beneath them transformed into a grid of tiles, some glowing bright, others dark. A wrong step on the dark tiles could activate traps or lock the path. Sarin studied the grid and realized it followed a pattern, but the pattern changed each time someone moved. Humans could adapt quickly. Amir moved slowly and carefully, testing the sequence, noticing subtle clues in the tile's light. Myra followed, relying on intuition. She recognized small signs in the carvings on the walls that hinted at safe steps. The team began moving together, coordinating their steps, communicating quietly, and solving the challenge with teamwork and patience. The pharaoh observed silently, and the holographic figure's glow pulsed with approval. As they reached the center of the grid, the chamber vibrated again. The second trial began. The room filled with images of creatures trapped in cages, calling silently for help. The pharaoh's voice echoed, do you have compassion? Will you act with care for those in need, or ignore them to save yourselves? Without hesitation, Amir and Myra used ropes and tools from their pack to release the holographic creatures. They were not real, yet the act mattered. The pharaoh's eyes glowed brighter. You understand what it means to be human, he said. Clever, brave, and compassionate. You may proceed further. For the first time, the humans felt a mixture of relief and pride. They had passed the initial trials, but they knew the tomb was not done testing them. The air was thick with energy, the hum constant and powerful. Amir glanced at his team. We must stay alert, he said. This is only the beginning. The pharaoh's challenge is just waking up. They moved forward cautiously, deeper into the chamber, knowing that what awaited them would demand not just courage, but ingenuity and heart. Each step brought them closer to the secrets of a civilization older than any they had studied. And somewhere in the shadows of the tomb, the pharaoh watched, curious about these strange beings called humans. The chamber grew darker as the humans moved deeper into the tomb. The walls twisted and stretched in impossible angles, making the space feel much larger than it should have been. Shadows danced across the hieroglyphs, and the air hummed with energy. Amir led the group, scanning the environment for any signs of danger. Every step was cautious, but their curiosity drove them forward. Suddenly, the floor beneath them shifted. Panels rose and fell, creating moving platforms over deep pits. Sarin's eyes widened as he studied the pattern. These are traps, he said. Ancient traps, but clever ones. We have to time our movements carefully. Myra nodded, gripping a support rope attached to her suit. Then we moved together. One wrong step could end this, she said. Amir took a deep breath and stepped forward. The first platform moved slowly, carrying them over a pit filled with sharp metallic spikes that gleamed faintly in the dim light. Sarin timed his step perfectly, and the team followed. The second platform began to shift more quickly. Amir signaled, and they moved as one. The tomb tested their focus, patience, and coordination. Each trap seemed designed to separate intruders, but humans had a unique strength in teamwork. They communicated without words, adjusting instantly to the shifting dangers. As they reached the end of the platform section, a series of glowing walls rose from the floor. Energy barriers blocked their path, humming with a low, powerful tone. Amir examined them. These are not simple gates. They respond to movement and energy. If we try to push through, we could be struck. Myra's eyes scanned the symbols etched into the walls. There is a pattern here, she said. We need to follow the rhythm of the hum. Sauron extended a small device from his suit. It measured the energy pulses and displayed a sequence of safe moments to move. The humans began to step carefully, synchronizing their movements with the energy waves. It required patience, precise timing, and complete focus. Slowly, they crossed the barriers, each step testing their nerves. The Pharaoh's voice echoed faintly, praising their cleverness but warning that greater challenges awaited. Once through, they entered a new chamber. The air was thick with heat, and the walls glowed with strange, pulsing lights. In the center stood a massive statue holding a large crystal. When Amir approached, the crystal emitted a bright beam of light that formed moving images around them. The images depicted humans, aliens, and other creatures trapped in cages. The Pharaoh's voice asked, "Will you free those in need, or ignore them to survive?" Myra stepped forward immediately, grabbing ropes and supports from her pack. With careful precision, she unlocked the cages in the holographic projection. Each cage released a creature that shimmered and disappeared, leaving only a sense of relief behind. Amir and Sauron assisted, checking that every trap had been disarmed. The Pharaoh's voice grew warmer. "You show compassion. That is a rare strength. You may continue." The chamber shifted again, opening into a narrow corridor. The walls seemed to close in, and the floor turned into a series of moving panels. Some panels sank under pressure, others tilted dangerously. Sauron analyzed each step, guiding the team. Humans adapted quickly, moving as one and using their tools to stabilize the panels. The tomb attempted to slow them, but the human mind could calculate, improvise, and adjust faster than any machine could anticipate. Suddenly, a hidden wall slid open, revealing a pit filled with swirling energy. The humans hesitated. Myra studied the symbols above the pit. "We can't cross it normally," she said. "But the light patterns indicate a path through." Amir nodded. Using long poles from their equipment, they created temporary bridges, stepping carefully as the energy swirled below. Each crossing required courage, creativity, and trust in each other. At the far end of the corridor, they entered a large circular chamber. The ceiling was high, and the walls were carved with scenes of ancient battles and peaceful gatherings. In the center stood the sarcophagus of Pharaoh Neferon, glowing softly. The energy from the tomb seemed to pulse in time with the humans' heartbeats. Amir approached slowly, feeling the weight of history and power pressing down on them. The Pharaoh's voice said, "You have shown intelligence, courage, and heart. Few could succeed where you have." The humans stood silently for a moment, absorbing the enormity of their achievement. Sauron looked at the glowing symbols, amazed at the complexity of the tomb's defenses. Every trap, every test, it was designed to see who could think, who could care, and who could endure, he said. Myra nodded. "It is not just power. It is understanding. Humans are proving themselves in a way even the Pharaoh did not expect." Amir turned to his team. "We have come this far, but the Pharaoh's knowledge is still ahead. The greatest challenge is yet to come. We must remain focused and respectful." The chamber pulsed with energy, as if acknowledging their words. The tomb was alive, observing, and reacting to them. The humans had passed the trials of the traps, but the journey through the Pharaoh's legacy was only beginning. Together, they approached the sarcophagus. Its glow seemed to invite them, offering both warning and promise. The Pharaoh's voice echoed once more, this time calm and approving. "You are clever, brave, and compassionate. You honor the spirit of my people. Continue forward, and the secrets of the tomb will be revealed." Amir, Myra, and Sauron shared determined looks. They had faced danger, fear, and the unknown, and humans had proven that their mind, heart, and unity were forces stronger than any trap. With careful steps, they prepared to enter the next chamber, ready for the mysteries and challenges that awaited, knowing that the Pharaoh's tests had only just begun. The humans stepped cautiously into the next chamber. The air was cooler here, filled with a faint scent of incense that seemed to linger from centuries ago. The walls were covered with more hieroglyphs, each glowing softly, illuminating scenes of a civilization lost in time. Amir ran his fingers along the carvings, feeling the energy vibrating beneath his touch. Every symbol told a story, every line seemed alive. In the center of the room was a pedestal, and upon it rested an ancient book, bound in what appeared to be a metallic leather that shimmered under the soft light. Sauron bent down to examine it. "This is no ordinary book," he said. "The material is unknown, and the writing changes if you look too quickly. It is alive in a sense, recording and adjusting." Myra leaned in, fascinated. The Pharaoh must have intended this as the ultimate knowledge test. To read it, we must understand patience and observation. Amir nodded. He stepped closer and touched the cover. A surge of warmth spread through his hand, and a holographic image rose from the book. The Pharaoh appeared again, his figure towering and regal. "Knowledge is power," he said. "But power without wisdom is dangerous. You have proven courage and heart. Now, you must prove intellect." The images from the book moved rapidly, showing a map of stars, ancient technologies, and hidden chambers within the tomb. Each scene contained puzzles embedded in the visual flow, requiring careful attention to understand. Amir studied the first sequence, noticing patterns that repeated at intervals. "It is a logic puzzle," he said. "We must decode the sequence to understand the next step." Sauron examined his instruments and nodded. "The symbols correspond to energy flows within the tomb. If we misread them, the paths could collapse or lock permanently." The humans worked together, matching the symbols, observing the patterns, and adjusting as they went. Hours seemed to pass in moments, as the tomb tested their intellect and patience. Finally, the holographic map stabilized, revealing the path forward. The humans followed it, entering a narrow corridor lined with crystal panels that refracted their light into intricate patterns on the walls. Each step seemed deliberate, as if the tomb itself guided them, rewarding attention and careful choices. Myra paused at one section where the panels formed a maze of reflections. "We must watch our reflections," she said. "They will show the safe path. Ignoring them could lead to a trap." They moved carefully, observing each reflection and adjusting their steps. The corridor opened into a vast library chamber, filled with scrolls, tablets, and strange devices that hummed with hidden energy. Floating lights illuminated the room, showing inscriptions of history, science, and art from the Pharaoh's time. Amir's eyes widened. "This is incredible. It is a record of an entire civilization, preserved perfectly." The Pharaoh's voice echoed once more. "Knowledge alone is not enough. You must understand its meaning and its purpose. Only then can you claim it." Myra and Sauron began examining the tablets, discovering connections between ancient technology and the natural laws they knew. They realized the Pharaoh's civilization had mastered energy sources, communication, and medicine far beyond current human understanding. Amir approached a large tablet that depicted the Pharaoh himself, standing among people and strange machines. As he studied it, a puzzle appeared in the air, floating symbols forming a grid. "It is a test," Amir said. "We must solve it to unlock the true secrets." They studied the symbols, noticing that each symbol corresponded to an action or principle. Using their knowledge and intuition, they began arranging the symbols in the correct sequence. The room responded to each correct move. Lights brightened, and the hum of energy became harmonious. The Pharaoh appeared again, smiling faintly. "You demonstrate intellect, but also understanding. You see that knowledge is not only to be taken, but to be applied wisely. You honor the spirit of my people." Suddenly, the library transformed. The shelves shifted to reveal a hidden passage leading deeper into the tomb. The humans moved forward, their hearts racing with anticipation. The Pharaoh's voice followed them, guiding and observing. Ahead lies the heart of the tomb. Here, you will face the greatest challenge. Your courage, wisdom, and compassion have carried you this far, but your unity will be tested. The air grew warmer, and the walls shimmered with golden light. They reached a massive door carved with the pharaoh's face, eyes glowing like molten gold. Symbols on the door shifted as if alive, rearranging themselves in response to their presence. Amir placed his hand on the door, feeling energy pulse through his veins. Myra and Sarin joined him, and together they concentrated on the symbols, understanding that only a combination of thought, care, and trust could open it. With a slow rumble, the door began to open, revealing a chamber filled with light and energy unlike anything they had seen. The pharaoh appeared in full holographic form, radiating power and majesty. "You have proven worthy," he said. "But remember, true greatness is not in power alone. It is in what you do with knowledge, courage, and heart. Enter, and see what legacy awaits you." The humans stepped forward together, ready to face the ultimate secrets of the pharaoh's tomb. Their journey had tested their minds, bodies, and hearts, and now they were prepared for the revelations that would change their understanding of history forever. The chamber beyond the golden door was unlike anything the humans had seen before. It was vast and round, its ceiling lost in shadows. The walls pulsed with streams of light that flowed like rivers, weaving in and out of carved symbols. At the center stood a crystal obelisk, tall and radiant, humming with power. The air itself seemed alive, vibrating with unseen energy. Amir, Myra, and Sarin stood in awe, their hearts racing. They knew this was the true heart of the tomb. As they approached, the pharaoh's holographic form appeared again, more solid than before. His eyes burned with golden light, and his voice filled every corner of the chamber. "You have entered the core of my resting place," he said. "Here, the final curse awakens. This is the trial that has broken all who came before. If you falter, the tomb will claim you forever." The humans exchanged tense looks. They had faced traps, puzzles, and illusions, but the pharaoh's warning carried a weight that pressed against their minds. Amir stepped forward, his voice steady despite the tension. "We are ready. We came for knowledge, not greed. We will face whatever test remains." The obelisk flared suddenly, sending waves of light across the chamber. The walls shifted and twisted, transforming into endless corridors that spiraled outward like a maze. The humans found themselves standing at the entrance of one path, with dozens more stretching in every direction. The pharaoh's voice thundered. "This is the trial of fear. The tomb will bend your senses, turning truth into illusion. To succeed, you must trust your hearts and your unity. Alone, you will fall. Together, you may endure." The humans took a deep breath. Amir led the way, stepping into the first corridor. Immediately, the walls shimmered, and he found himself surrounded by visions. The corridor seemed to collapse around him, the floor breaking into chasms, the ceiling crumbling into dust. He nearly stumbled, but Myra's hand caught his arm. She shook her head. "It is not real," she said firmly. "It is fear. We stay calm." They pressed forward, each step met with new illusions. Sarin saw visions of water flooding the hall, rising quickly as if to drown them. His instincts screamed to run, but Amir's steady voice anchored him. "Breathe, Sarin. Focus. It cannot harm us." Together, they walked through the rushing water, which vanished the moment they refused to give it power. Deeper in the maze, Myra was tested. She saw visions of her family, calling her name from a distant chamber. The sound tugged at her heart, urging her to abandon the group. Tears welled in her eyes, but Amir gripped her shoulder. "That is not them," he said. "The tomb is trying to break us apart. Stay with us." Myra closed her eyes, forced her emotions steady, and the voices faded into silence. The illusions grew more dangerous as they advanced. Walls of fire erupted before them, Shadows took the form of predators with glowing eyes, and whispers filled the air, urging them to give in to despair. But humans had always faced fear with resilience. They leaned on each other, speaking words of courage, reminding themselves of their purpose. Their unity became a shield, and with every step, the illusions weakened. Finally, they reached the center of the maze, where the obelisk now stood glowing brighter than ever. The pharaoh's voice echoed again. You have faced the shadows of fear, yet you remain. Few have come this far. But fear is only one enemy. Now, you must face temptation. The obelisk split into 3 smaller crystals, each projecting visions of incredible treasures. One showed vast amounts of gold and jewels, enough to make them rulers of worlds. Another showed advanced weapons, powerful enough to dominate galaxies. The third revealed ancient knowledge that could grant endless life. The pharaoh's voice was calm. Choose, and it shall be yours. But know this: greed binds, and wisdom frees. Amir looked at the visions, his heart racing. The wealth sparkled with impossible beauty. The weapons gleamed with terrifying power. The promise of life everlasting tugged at him with the strongest pull of all. But then he thought of why they had come, not for riches, not for control, but for understanding. He turned to Myra and Soren. We take none of it. We choose knowledge only if it comes freely, not as a prize. That is what makes us human. Myra nodded, tears in her eyes. Greed destroys. Compassion builds. We cannot betray who we are. Soren closed his device, stepping back from the crystals. Then we walk away, he said firmly. As they turned from the visions, the illusions shattered like glass. The treasures vanished, and the obelisk returned to its original form, glowing with calm light. The pharaoh appeared again, his golden eyes studying them with deep intensity. For the first time, his voice softened. You resisted fear, and you denied temptation. Few have shown such strength. You prove that humanity carries not just clever minds, but noble hearts. The chamber filled with warmth, the oppressive energy fading into a calm glow. The walls returned to their original form, and the maze dissolved into open space. The humans stood together before the pharaoh's hologram, their bodies weary but their spirits strong. Amir spoke quietly. We seek only to learn, so that we may honor your people's memory and share their wisdom. The pharaoh's image bowed his head slightly. Then you are worthy to see what lies beyond. The curse does not bind you, for you have carried yourselves with courage, wisdom, and compassion. Step forward, and the legacy of my people will be yours. The humans walked toward the obelisk as its light expanded, forming a new path deeper into the tomb. Their journey was far from over, but they had overcome the trial of fear and the test of temptation. They had proven not only their strength, but the true spirit of humanity. The new path glowed with golden light as Amir, Myra, and Soren stepped forward. Their footsteps echoed softly against the polished stone floor. Unlike the earlier chambers filled with shadows and traps, this corridor felt calm. The air was warmer, but it carried a sense of peace rather than danger. The humans moved carefully, knowing the pharaoh's trials were not yet finished. At the end of the corridor, they entered a grand hall. It was circular, with tall pillars carved to look like guardians holding glowing orbs. The ceiling was a dome of crystal, displaying stars that moved slowly as if showing the sky from another age. In the middle of the hall stood a throne made of dark stone, and seated upon it was the full holographic form of Pharaoh Neferon. His presence was stronger than ever, and his golden eyes studied them with deep interest. You have passed the trials of courage, compassion, and restraint, the Pharaoh said. His voice carried both authority and curiosity. But one test remains. This is the trial of unity. Many who entered this hall claimed to be strong, yet they turned against one another when the tomb forced them to choose. Will you stand together, or will you fall apart? The floor beneath them shifted, and 3 paths formed, each leading in a different direction. The pharaoh's gaze turned sharp. Each path leads to safety for one, but danger for the others. If you act only for yourself, you may survive, but you will fail the test. Decide now. Amir felt the weight of the challenge. He knew the pharaoh was watching not their strength, but their loyalty. Myra's eyes filled with determination. We have come this far as one. We will not break apart now. Sarin nodded firmly. If we split, the tomb wins. If we stay, humanity wins. The three of them stepped forward together, refusing to choose separate paths. The pharaoh's expression did not change, but the floor trembled. The paths twisted and merged into one, leading them to the center of the hall. The throne dissolved into light, and the pharaoh stood before them. His figure was massive, towering above them like a mountain of golden fire. You defy the choice, he said. You reject survival for the self. This is not weakness. This is strength. The ground shook, and the walls opened to reveal visions of past challengers. Aliens from different worlds, strong in body but divided in spirit, turning on one another until the tomb claimed them. The pharaoh pointed toward the visions. They failed because they could not trust. You stand together, and so you endure. The illusions faded, and the pharaoh raised his hand. Energy flowed through the chamber, filling the air with a steady pulse like a heartbeat. The humans felt the vibration deep in their chests. Suddenly, the chamber shifted again, and they found themselves surrounded by a battlefield. The ground was scorched, the air heavy with smoke, and ancient warriors clashed in endless combat. It was not real, but it felt alive. This is the trial of legacy, the pharaoh said. My people were mighty, but they fell to conflict and pride. Look upon their end. Tell me, humans, what will your legacy be? Will you follow the same path? Amir looked around at the endless battle. He saw warriors destroying one another, their cities burning in the distance. It was a vision of failure, of a great people who lost everything. He stepped forward, his voice steady. Our legacy will not be endless war. We may fight, we may struggle, but we also create, build, and dream. We endure because we help one another. Myra added, we are far from perfect, but we learn from mistakes. That is what makes us strong. We carry not only power, but the will to change. Sarin raised his voice, firm and clear. We do not want to rule over others. We want to explore, understand, and grow. That is the mark of humanity. The battlefield illusion froze. The warriors vanished, the smoke cleared, and the ground returned to the polished stone of the hall. The pharaoh regarded them in silence for a long moment. Then his golden eyes softened, and his voice carried something it had not before: respect. You surprise me, he said. When I built this tomb, I believed none could pass. I thought all would fall to fear, greed, or pride. But you show me something different. Humanity holds a balance of mind and heart. You are fragile, yet you endure. You are flawed, yet you rise. This is rare. The obelisk from the earlier chamber appeared again, now glowing brighter than ever. Streams of light flowed from it, filling the hall with warmth. The pharaoh gestured toward it. This is the knowledge of my people. It contains our history, our science, and our wisdom. It was never meant for the selfish or the cruel. But you, humans, have proven worthy to receive it. Amir, Myra, and Sarin stood before the obelisk, humbled by the honor. They did not touch it immediately, for they understood its weight. Amir spoke softly. We will not misuse it. We will carry it with respect, and we will share it to build, not destroy. The pharaoh bowed his head, his figure flickering as if fading. Then my purpose is fulfilled. My curse was not to punish, but to test. And you, humans, have passed where others failed. My legacy will live again through you. The light from the obelisk grew stronger, surrounding the humans. The chamber shook, but it was not violent. It was the sound of the tomb releasing its burden. The Pharaoh's voice echoed one final time. Go, children of earth. Carry forward what you have earned. May your legacy be greater than mine. As the light settled, the humans realized the tomb had accepted them completely. The trials were over, but their journey into the Pharaoh's secrets was only beginning. The golden light from the obelisk surrounded Amir, Myra, and Sarin, lifting them gently from the floor. They felt no fear, only warmth and calm, as if the tomb itself embraced them. The symbols on the walls glowed brighter, forming rivers of light that streamed into the obelisk. The entire chamber pulsed with energy, steady and alive, like the beating heart of a giant. Slowly, the holographic form of Pharaoh Neferon appeared one final time. He stood tall and radiant, though his presence no longer carried the weight of judgment. Instead, his eyes glowed with quiet pride. You have endured the trials, he said. You have shown wisdom, courage, compassion, and unity. You are the first to carry my people's legacy forward. The obelisk split into 3 smaller crystals, each floating before the humans. They shimmered with shifting light, holding within them the knowledge of an entire civilization. These are fragments of our history, the Pharaoh continued. They contain the secrets of our science, our medicine, and our art. But above all, they carry the lessons of our rise and fall. Use them not to conquer, but to guide. Amir reached out carefully, his hands trembling with the weight of responsibility. He held the first crystal close, and for a moment visions filled his mind, images of towering cities powered by endless energy, of people working in harmony, of stars mapped across galaxies. Myra lifted the second, feeling warmth spread through her chest as she saw images of healing, teaching, and discovery. Sarin took the third, and visions of great machines, inventions, and voyages filled his thoughts. Each crystal carried not just knowledge, but hope. The Pharaoh's figure began to fade. My curse was never to destroy, he said softly. It was to test, so that only the worthy could inherit what we left behind. You have broken the chain of failure. You have awakened not the curse, but the gift. The chamber shifted again. The golden light dimmed, and the massive doors at the far side of the hall slowly opened, revealing a path that led back to the surface. The air grew cooler, fresher, and the faint sound of wind echoed from above. It was as if the tomb itself had opened its arms to let them go. Amir, Myra, and Sarin stood silently for a moment. None of them wanted to leave quickly. They knew this place, once feared as a curse, had become a sanctuary of memory and truth. Amir bowed his head toward the fading figure of the Pharaoh. We will honor this gift, he said. We will not forget your people. The hologram gave one final nod before dissolving into 1,000 sparks of golden light. Then the chamber was still. The 3 humans walked toward the exit, carrying the crystals carefully. Their boots echoed against the stone, their steps steady and certain. As they climbed the long passage, the air grew brighter until the desert sun spilled over them once more. The wind whipped across the dunes, carrying away the last traces of dust from the tomb's entrance. The desert, silent for centuries, now whispered with life. Their rover waited at the edge of the dig site, half buried in sand. The rest of their small camp seemed almost insignificant compared to what they now carried. Myra looked back at the tomb one last time. The entrance was already shifting, as if the desert itself moved to cover it again. It hides itself once more, she said softly. Perhaps it waits for the next who will need its lessons. Sarin adjusted his pack, feeling the weight of the crystal inside. If others come, they will never know the same trials. We carry the knowledge now. That is enough. Amir smiled faintly, though his eyes were serious. We carry more than knowledge. We carry trust. The Pharaoh believed in us. That is greater than any treasure. They boarded the rover and began the long journey back to their transport ship. As the engines rumbled, Amir looked out over the endless sands. The desert stretched in every direction, timeless and unchanging, yet he knew everything had changed. Humanity now carried the wisdom of an ancient civilization. What they did with it would shape their own future. When the ship lifted into the sky, the tomb disappeared beneath the dunes, hidden once more by the winds of Elisara 7. The humans watched the planet shrink below them, the blue stars above welcoming them back into the wider galaxy. Inside the ship, the crystals pulsed softly, filling the cabin with a warm glow. Myra placed her hand on one of them. "These are not just tools," she said. "They are voices. The Pharaoh's people speak through them. We must listen." Sauron leaned back in his seat, exhaustion finally catching up to him. "And we must protect them. Others will want this power. We must make sure it is used to build, not destroy." Amir nodded, his gaze fixed on the stars ahead. "That is why it was given to us. Not because we are the strongest, but because we can choose to be better. The tomb tested our humanity, and we passed. Now the real trial begins: how we use what we have learned." The ship soared into the dark, leaving the desert planet behind. The humans carried with them not just knowledge, but a legacy entrusted to them by a pharaoh who had believed no one would ever succeed. And in that legacy was a truth that would echo across the stars: humanity, with all its flaws and strengths, was worthy of carrying the future.